The Eiffel Tower was never meant to last. That fact alone made one of history's greatest crimes possible. In the spring of 1925, Paris was still licking its wounds from the First World War. The city was tired, proud, and desperate to believe that elegance could survive ruin. Above it all stood the Eiffel Tower, rusting, expensive to maintain, and quietly controversial. Many Parisians still hated it. Some wanted it torn down. And one man saw opportunity where others saw iron. His name was Victor Lustig. He was charming, multilingual, impeccably dressed, and completely fictional. Every story he told about his past was a lie, but each lie was delivered with such confidence that it became irresistible. Lustig had already made a career out of separating wealthy men from their money. He once sold a machine that claimed to duplicate cash, then vanished before buyers realized it only produced blank paper. But his masterpiece was still ahead of him. It began with a newspaper article. Lustig read that the Eiffel Tower was costing the city a fortune to maintain. Its paint was peeling. Its elevators were unreliable. Some officials privately questioned whether it was worth keeping at all. Lustig folded the paper, smiled, and understood something immediately. If people already believed the tower might be scrapped, they could be persuaded that it was being scrapped. All he needed was authority. Within days considered planning, Lustig forged official documents bearing the seal of the French Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. He rented a luxurious suite at the Hôtel de Crillon, one of Paris's most prestigious hotels. Then he invited 6 of the city's most powerful scrap metal dealers to a confidential government meeting. The invitations were formal, official, and stamped. The secrecy felt important, exclusive, dangerous. When the men arrived, Lustig greeted them like a civil servant weighed down by responsibility. He spoke calmly, apologetically, as if burdened by a task he did not enjoy. He explained that the government had made a difficult decision. The Eiffel Tower was to be dismantled and sold for scrap. Public outrage was expected, so the process had to remain secret. Every detail was plausible. He spoke of budgets, of public image, of logistical challenges. He even arranged a private tour of the Eiffel Tower, casually discussing the complexity of dismantling it piece by piece. Standing beneath the Iron Giant, none of the men questioned his authority. Why would they? Governments dismantle monuments all the time, quietly, efficiently, and without asking permission. But Lustig was not just selling metal, he was selling fear. He observed the men closely, watching their reactions. 5 of them were interested. One of them was desperate. His name was André Poisson, a businessman anxious to prove himself in Parisian high society. Lustig sensed insecurity immediately, and he exploited it with surgical precision. Privately, Lustig hinted that government officials were underpaid, that bribes were common, that choosing the winning bidder required discretion. Poisson understood instantly. This wasn't corruption, he thought. This was how power worked. Within days, Poisson handed over an enormous sum of money for the tower and for Lustig's personal assistance in ensuring the deal went through. Victor Lustig took the money and left Paris. By the time Poisson realized he had been conned, Lustig was already across the border. And Poisson, humiliated beyond measure, did something crucial. He stayed silent. Reporting the crime would have meant admitting he tried to bribe a government official over one of France's most famous landmarks. Silence protected the con. Most criminals would have disappeared forever at that point. Lustig did something far more audacious. He came back. Barely a month later, he returned to Paris and ran the exact same scheme again. New documents, new dealers, same story, same tower, same confidence. This time, one of the targets grew suspicious and contacted authorities before handing over money. Lustig fled just ahead of arrest, vanishing into Europe's criminal underworld once more. He had successfully sold the Eiffel Tower twice, a feat so absurd it bordered on performance art. But Lustig wasn't finished humiliating institutions. He eventually traveled to the United States, where his charm proved just as effective. He mingled with politicians, bankers, and criminals alike. At one point, he even managed to con Al Capone, not by stealing from him, but by earning his respect. Lustig took $50,000 from Capone, locked it in a safe, did absolutely nothing with it, and returned it months later, claiming the investment failed. Capone, impressed by the apparent honesty, rewarded Lustig with $5,000. It was the cleanest con Lustig ever pulled. But arrogance is the enemy of subtlety. Lustig eventually drew the attention of the U.S. Secret Service for his large-scale counterfeiting operations. He was arrested, escaped custody, was recaptured, and finally sentenced to Alcatraz, the prison designed for men who could not be trusted to stay free. Victor Lustig died there in 1947 of pneumonia. His death certificate listed his occupation simply as apprentice salesman. It may be the most honest line ever written about him. The Eiffel Tower still stands, painted and repainted, photographed millions of times a year. Tourists climb it without realizing that once, briefly, it belonged to a man who never owned it, sold it, or had any right to touch it. And yet he sold it anyway. Not because the world was foolish, but because it wanted to believe. It wanted authority to be real, documents to be truthful, and confidence to mean legitimacy. Victor Lustig understood something timeless. People don't fall for lies because they're stupid. They fall for lies because the lie fits perfectly into what they already suspect might be true. The tower was expensive, officials were secretive, Paris was struggling. All he did was connect the dots and charge admission. In the end, Victor Lustig didn't steal iron or rivets. He stole trust. And that, unlike the Eiffel Tower, is something far more fragile and far easier to dismantle